Welcome to the Illuminated Path podcast. I'm your host, Liv, founder of Eno Wellness Collective. My wellness journey started with yoga, which led me down the path of exploring healing modalities like meditation, breath work, sound healing, mindset work, and so much more. This exploration inspired my mission to help others find what lights them up. Get comfortable and curious as we learn from experts, teachers, and creators who are lighting up their communities and living an inspired, expansive life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another solo episode of Illuminated Path podcast. I'm your host, Liv. Go ahead and come on in and get comfortable for this episode, which is going to be all about the topic of manifestation. And this topic in particular has been something I've been wanting to share a bit more about for a little bit now. It's actually something that comes up quite a bit in the coaching programs that I do and retreats that I host. And it's something that people have actually, come up to me numerous times and said, "You're such a good manifester. Oh, you always manifest everything." This word manifest and manifestation has come up a lot for me, especially in the past couple years. And when I had, numerous people coming up to me and saying, "How are you manifesting this?" or "How are you able to manifest something so quick?" It really got me curious about this topic of manifestation, right? And I had heard about it a lot over the past years. Obviously, it's a very, kind of buzzword now in this space where you hear people talk about manifestation all the time. But what exactly is it, and how do we do it? Right? So this could be a whole course. This could be a whole, a whole session. But I wanted to just break it down in a short and sweet solo episode of some of the ways that manifestation has come up for me in my own life. And if I were to put it into a type of process or steps, here are some of the key things that I've seen work well, not only for myself, but also for my clients. So one of the first places that I really started to learn about manifestation in my own journey was by listening to podcasts. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, everything from, Lacey Phillips, the Expanded podcast, listening to all sorts of, podcasts about spirituality, and manifestation was what would always come up. It was always something that people were talking about, and when it came to spirituality. And so one of the things that I thought manifestation was very early on was, it sounds like they're doing some type of magic, right? Like, why does manifestation sound a bit magical, right? I just thought about it, I believed it was possible, and then it happened. But as I got further into this work and really learning about manifestation, I really wanted to share with my clients and share, with the people I was working with, how much of it was not magic, right? How manifestation is not just this, I thought about it and then I was thinking about it and then it happened, right? That there's actually a lot of work and intention that goes behind manifesting something and actually bringing it to life. And so when I think about manifestation, the three words that I've heard, related to it over and over again that have really stuck with me is this idea that we have to ask, we have to believe, and then we have to receive. So asking, believing, and receiving. And in some of these steps that I'm going to share today, they basically go through that process a little bit more in depth. And what I love about just keeping it super easy, right? Ask, believe, and receive, is that we're not just talking about thinking about it and praying about it or wishing it, right? But that we actually do need to be able to receive it. And there is a missing piece of those three words that I'll add on in just a little bit. But there is a energetic process behind manifestation, and not just having something come to life in that magic way, but actually have there be an energetic way to receive it as well. So I want you just to take a moment, if you have something to write with, or if you're driving, you can just think about it. But when you think about the word manifestation, just notice what are the first words that come to mind. And you can write those down if you have something to write with, but what are the first associations that you have with this word manifestation? And maybe you think of a person, maybe you think of something you've actively manifested, maybe you have maybe even a negative connotation around the word manifestation, but just noticing when you think about it, do you believe that you're a powerful manifester? Do you believe that you can manifest things? Just noticing if you feel one way or the other about it. So today I'm going to share 7 steps. And again, it's hard to put manifestation in necessarily steps, but 7 steps that you can do and that you can use when you really want to bring something to life. And when I think about manifestation, I think exactly that. How do I bring something to life? How do I make it happen, make it possible, make it my reality? And the very first step in this is deciding what you want. A lot of times when people are, doing any sort of workshops around manifestation or journaling about manifestation, a lot of it is in this first step, which is deciding what you actually want, getting very specific about it. And so in a lot of visualizations related to manifestation, they might ask you to visualize this future self or this future life or this future dream, and to really get clear on what it is, right? The more specific, the better. How can you not just say, like, I want, this, I want to own a house, and instead really think about, I would love this specific type of house in this place with these specific things, right? How do we get as specific as possible and really deciding with clarity, what do we want, right? We don't just want a job. We want this specific role at this specific company. And again, more specific, the better here. The second step is really thinking about, how do you visualize this desire? How do you look at it and see it for yourself? And so that's where things like meditation can come in, visualization can come in, even drawing it out can come in, journaling, details. How do we really sit in that feeling of as if it's already here? Right. And really visualizing this desire. Like, I see that this is a trip that my manifestation is that I want to go on this big around the world trip, as an example, getting really clear on what it is that I want. Visualizing that desire would be really sitting in, how does it feel to already be in that trip? What does it look like? What is the energy that I'm embodying in this experience? Like, act as if it's already here. Right? And what this does is allows us to start to see that it is possible when we fill in some of the blanks with the details, right? When we're able to really sit in the energy of not only do I want, but how does it feel when I'm there, right? And tapping into that energetic quality. The third step is thinking about releasing limiting beliefs. And I do a whole section of this in my programs. Limiting beliefs, I think, is such a core thing to explore when it comes to mindset work, because so much of what is holding us back is not necessarily that we can't do it or that we don't know how to do it, but this belief or this story or this pattern that is blocking us, right? It's the belief that we have held on about ourselves, about a person, about the world, about our reality that is blocking us. I say this often to people, but it's like sometimes it really is just, this inner critic versus this inner coach. And so when we are able to look at our beliefs, a really, hard look at what is holding us back, a lot of times it does point back to some type of limiting belief. We don't believe that we're capable, that we're disciplined, that we can do it, that we, have the skills. We don't believe that we're confident enough, whatever it might be. So releasing those limiting beliefs are a huge part of manifestation. Once we know what we want, once we can see it and know what kind of energy it feels like to be in there, now it's really time to look at the blocks, right? Of like, what is actually holding us back? And no surprise, it's typically ourselves, right? It's typically the things and the stories that we're telling ourselves. So the fourth step, now that we are, actively working on releasing limiting beliefs, which of course is a, multi-step process, can also take many years to really uncover what our beliefs are and to start to challenge them, is believing in our ability to manifest. So just even a few minutes ago, I asked, do you believe that you can manifest? Do you actively believe that you are powerful and that you're co-creating with the universe and that you are trusting the process and believing that you can bring something to life? If you have a dream and you have, something that you actively want, that you can do it. And so even just that belief is a piece of the puzzle. Releasing limiting beliefs, of course, letting go of the things that are blocking us, but not just letting go of the things that are blocking us, actively stepping into the belief that we can manifest and we can bring things to life and that it's not magic. There's nothing magical about it. It is really putting in the work and the effort and the clarity in order to bring something to life. So the next step in manifestation, which is, I believe, the missing piece in that ask, believe, and receive phrase, is that it requires taking inspired action. And note that word inspired, not just action, not just doing things on the to-do list, but taking inspired and aligned action, right? How do we not only see what we want, visualize our desire, release the things that are blocking us, what's getting in our way, typically ourselves, believe that it is possible for us, that we are co-creating with the universe. But if we stay here, if we don't go to this next step, it stays as a dream for years and years and years, right? And I'm sure many of you can relate to having these things that you say that you want to do, or these things that you say you want, but that gets stuck. And it often gets stuck in this feeling of like, we can think about it all that we want, but if we're not taking this inspired, aligned action, if we're not doing the thing that moves it forward, whether it's like, I'm going to apply for the new job, I'm going to look at flights, I'm going to, have coffee with this person who's doing the thing that I want, and I'm going to see what they did to get there, right? If we're not taking these little micro actions, meeting someone, researching, booking the thing, signing up for the program, like that, if we're not taking those, then it just stays in this believing piece, right? So I would say ask, believe, act, and then receive, right? Asking, believing, acting, and then receiving. And I would say, again, this is where a lot of people get stuck, is like, what do I do? How do I take this big goal that I have? How do I take this big vision? And how do I break it down into these small, tiny steps, daily inspired action? And then this final step, which is my personal favorite because it also is the hardest, is allowing the process to unfold. And this is where there is a bit of that. I will say this is where there is a little bit of that magic, because this manifestation process is asking you to get super clear on what you want, to tap into the energy, to release the beliefs around it, to really feel like you can do it, right? Believing in your ability to manifest, to taking the actions, doing the work, putting the feelers out there, taking the risk. This final piece is allowing it to unfold. It's basically tossing it up and saying, show me in what way this becomes a reality. And this is where trust comes in. This is where faith comes in. This is where maybe my manifestation will come to me, but maybe it won't be in the timeline that I am expecting. Maybe my manifestation will come to me, but maybe it's going to take a slightly different shape, right? Or a different format to get there, or a different path to get there. And this is where there's so much inner work that can ground us, because when we are so clear about what we want, and when we really set forth, this is the goal that I have, this is what I want, we can be so hung up on the timeline. We can be so hung up on the details, even though it's important to get clear on the details. We can be so hung up on the details that we sometimes miss when a manifestation is coming through to us, because we are tight around the timeline, right? So I want you to think about how this has showed up in your own life. Where have you received a manifestation or something come to life and something happen where it came in a different way, right? It came unexpected. You got the promotion, but the promotion came, 6 months sooner. You found the love of your life, but like it was in a different way than you were anticipating, like where you had to receive something, but in a way that you didn't expect. So of those steps, and I'll repeat them again: decide what you want, visualize your desire, release limiting beliefs, believe in your ability to manifest, take inspired action, and then allow the process to unfold. Just notice what part of that process do you feel like you typically get stuck. And I will say a lot of times people say either inspired action or allowing the process to unfold, right? They're really, it can be easy to dream up what you want, but sometimes actually taking action and moving it forward is the hardest thing to do. And then trusting that like the process, the timing, the path is all aligned to your highest good. So noticing which of those stages feels the most exciting, and also which of those stages feels like where you typically might get stuck. So there's two additional things related to manifestation that I wanted to share today as it relates to this. The first one would be around this last bit around allowing the process to unfold, actually receiving. And one of the things I notice with a lot of my clients and even with myself, and I don't even know exactly what the term is for this. I call it like the universe dangling a carrot in front of you because that's the only thing I can think of. But oftentimes when you are manifesting something and you get super clear about what you want, you're doing the action, you're making it happen, sometimes there can be a test, right? Something that is coming to you that is close but not quite, right? And what this can do, and again, I don't know exactly if there's a term for this, but I call it, the universe dangling this little carrot in front of you. Like, how bad do you want it? Is this what you actually want? And I've seen this come up with people when they're manifesting like a job, for example, or even a partner, and something close comes their way, like they get a job offer, but there are certain pieces of it that don't feel aligned. Or they meet an amazing person that's everything that they wanted on paper, everything they were asking, but there's some behavior or there's some value that's misaligned. And this can sometimes feel confusing when we get this type of test. It's like, wow, 90%, but this is actually showing me that 10% is actually the most important piece of the puzzle, right? Like I want a partner, but I want them to have this value. And this is actually more important than all of this, other things that you might write down. Same thing for a job. Like I realized I thought I wanted this job or this title, but actually I care more about the people and I care more about the culture, whatever it might be. So even thinking back to some of the things that you've experienced and noticing if you have experienced what we're going to call just the universe dangling a carrot, this test, right? It's almost like, yes, this, but you're close, right? Not quite. And this can give us a lot of clarity into what we actually really want. So wanted to point that out because I do see this happen quite a bit. And I'm always like, yes, this is the universe dangling the carrot. This is the test. And then finally, one of the big things that I've learned about manifestation through the expanded podcast is around the idea of expanders. And expanders are people in your life that expand your vision of what's possible for yourself. And this is super important, especially for those of you who are, starting businesses or entrepreneurs or wanting to do your own thing. It can be super supportive to find people who are a few steps ahead of you, who are doing what you want to be doing, not as competition, but as, wow, if she can do it, I can do it too, right? It expands your possibility for what's possible. And so noticing, in your networks and your circles, like who are your expanders? Your expanders could be people you don't know, right? They could be someone that you're listening to on a podcast. They can be celebrities. They could be people who own their own, businesses or brands. But a lot of times our expanders are people that we do know, right? It's like the friend that we have that's following their dream, right? The person that seems to be really balancing, work and family. Like we have these expanders around us. And the more we can tap into that energy of like, I'm seeing what's possible for myself by looking at what's happening around me, these can be super powerful pieces of the manifestation puzzle because we need to believe, again, part of that believing part, that it's possible for us. And one of the best ways that we can start to do that is to see evidence like, oh, it's possible. It's possible for her. It's possible for her. She did it. I could do it. She did it. I can do it. Right. So finding these expanders in your life. So I will keep this one short and sweet today. I really wanted to just share those steps that have helped me, have helped my clients, those two little last pieces around the test and the expanders, because those do come up, and just inviting you to think about how manifestation is showing up in your life and which step or stage are you currently in if you are trying to bring something big to life, and potentially where you're getting stuck. So if this episode resonates with you, I would love to hear it. Drop into my DMs, share about, what you're manifesting, or maybe which step you feel like you're most resonating with at this point in your journey. Would love to hear it. And for those of you who are curious about working together or diving into this work more, I wanted to share that Rise and Align, my signature program, is officially open for enrollment for our fall group. It's our final group of the year. And Rise and Align, it's my favorite thing of all the things that I do. It's a 4-month group coaching experience where we really get to dive into aligning your habits, your home, your relationships, and your mindset. That is really the Rise and Align method that I teach. And weaved in there, especially in the mindset path, is a lot around manifestation, around abundance, about really reframing our thought pattern and the stories that we're telling ourselves. And what I love about doing this program is over the course of 4 months, I see people change and thrive and start bringing in and manifesting the things that they've said they've always wanted, and creating time in their calendars and creating a life that they don't just move through the motions of, but that they actually are in love with, and they're really in the driver's seat. So if you're curious about working together, we begin September 1st, and we are in open early bird enrollment until August 22nd. I'll drop all of the details in the show notes and would recommend reaching out if you're interested in exploring it. So with that, I will share that we have an amazing lineup of episodes coming up. We have both in-person Guam interviews that are on the horizon, as well as some amazing guests that have been on my bucket list to interview for a while. So I'm really excited to share the next episodes with you all, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you like this episode, please rate and review, and don't forget to subscribe. Learn more at enowellnesscollective.com and connect with us on Instagram at enowellnesscollective.